Hey guys, welcome back to my new video. So without any further delay, let's get into it. So basically today's video is all about vital signs. So I will explain to you vital signs, what is vital signs and what are the vital signs. So basically vital means major and important. So we will take the patient's major and important signs. So vital signs includes heart rate, respiratory rate, blood pressure, temperature and pain. So first of all I will explain to you the normal and abnormal range of the vital signs, and after that I will take the vital signs by myself. So first we will measure the temperature of the patient. For that we should know the normal range of the temperature. So basically we measure the temperature by oral and rectal and tympanic membrane and axillary temperature. So average range of the oral temperature is 98.6 Fahrenheit, and it's good to know that in the morning time our body temperature is low, which is 96.4, and in the afternoon and in the evening time our body temperature is high, which is 99.1 Fahrenheit. And when we are measuring the temperature, oral temperature, so we will use the thermometer. So basically two types of thermometer are there. So one is glass thermometer and one is electronic thermometer. When we are using the glass thermometer, we will shake the thermometer below the 35 degrees Celsius, and we will instruct the patient to keep the thermometer under the tongue and close the both lips for the 3 to 5 minutes, and we will get the temperature of the patient. And when we are using the electronic thermometer, we will place the disposable cover over the probe, and we will instruct the patient that keep the thermometer under the tongue, and we will wait for the 10 seconds and we will get the temperature of the patient. So now we move on to the pain, and when we are assessing the pain, carefully listen to the patient description and ask the patient to point out the pain location. When we are assessing the severity of the pain, commonly we use 3 scales: the analog scale and 2 scale using rating from 1 to 10, the numeric scale, and Wong-Baker faces pain rating scale. Now we will talk about heart rate and rhythm. The things you should know while you are checking the heart rate and rhythm. First thing, you are checking the heart rate on the radial pulse, which is on the thumb side of the hand. And the second thing, you are using these 2 fingers, index finger and middle finger. And the third thing, you will press on the radial pulse until you feel maximal pulse detection. And the last thing, you should know the normal range of the heart rate, which is between 60 to 100. Now we move on to the respiratory rate. So in this, the things you should know is rhythm and the rate. So normal range of the respiratory rate is between 14 to 20, and it should be regular, not irregular. The techniques of taking the respiratory rate is, one is you can visually inspect the patient, and second is you can listen over the trachea. And the thing you should know while you are checking the respiratory rate is, you will not tell the patient that I am going to take your respiratory rate. The best way to check the respiratory rate is when you are taking the patient's heart rate. At that time you will observe the patient, and at that time you can check the respiratory rate of the patient. It is the most useful technique. Hi, I'm your Dr. Bhavani Singh. Can you please tell me your name and age?
Rahul Pandit.
Okay. So today I'm gonna check your vital signs. They include heart rate, respiratory rate and blood pressure. Is that okay for you?
Yeah.
Thank you. So now I'm going to check patient's heart rate. So okay. So I measure the patient's heart rate for the 10 seconds, and the count for the 10 seconds was 12, and if we count by 6 then it would be 72. so his heart rate is 72 per minute. When I was checking patient's heart rate at that time, I also observed the patient and I also checked the patient's respiratory rate, and the count in the 10 second was 3, and if we multiply with 6 then it is 18, and the patient's respiratory rate is 18, that is normal. Okay, so when you are going to take the patient's blood pressure, the things you should keep in mind is, first of all, you will take the patient's history, in which you will ask to the patient that if he took any beverages like caffeine or alcohol, something like that. And if patient tells you yes, he took caffeine, then you will wait for 30 minutes and then you will start the blood pressure examination. And if the patient tells you that no, he didn't take any caffeine beverages, then you will give 5 minutes to the patient and tell him that make yourself comfortable, and then you will start examination. And the next thing you should know is normal range of the blood pressure, which is 120 over 80. So 120 is systolic blood pressure and 80 is diastolic pressure. And the next thing is, when we are measuring the blood pressure, we consider the brachial artery. So the brachial artery should be at the heart level. If it is below the heart level, then the readings would be high, and if it is higher than the heart level, then readings would be low. So we should keep the brachial artery at the heart level, which is at 4th intercostal space. And the next thing you should keep in mind is hypertension. What is hypertension? If the patient's systolic blood pressure is more than 120 and the diastolic pressure is more than 80, that called hypertension. So basically three types of hypertensions are there. First, white coat hypertension, second, masked hypertension, and third is nocturnal hypertension. So in the white coat hypertension, when patient visit the hospital and see the white coat of the doctor, patient's blood pressure increases. Otherwise, the patient's blood pressure is normal. And the next is masked hypertension. When the patient is in the office, at that time patient's blood pressure is normal, and otherwise if he is at home, at that time patient's blood pressure is high. So that is masked hypertension. And the last one is nocturnal hypertension, is when the patient is going to fall asleep from wakefulness. At that time patient's blood pressure is high. So these are the hypertension. And the next thing you should keep in mind is stages of hypertension. So the normal range of the blood pressure is 120 systolic and 80 is diastolic. So if the pressure is more than 120 and systolic pressure is more than 120 and diastolic pressure is more than 80, then it is pre-hypertension. And the next stage is first stage hypertension, second stage hypertension, and there is different stages for diabetes and renal disease patient. Okay, now I'm going to check your blood pressure. So before I check your blood pressure, can you please tell me, you came here by stairs or lift?
Lift.
Okay, so before you come here, you took any beverages, caffeine or alcohol or something?
No, I took in morning.
It's okay. Good. Now we will check your blood pressure. So put your hand here. Okay. So do you have any past history of the cardiac surgery?
No.
Okay, so first of all you will tie the cuff on the patient's arm, and you will tie the cuff so that these two pipes fall between the antecubital fossa, and if the cuff is loose or too tight, then you will tie accordingly. It should not be too tight or it should not be too loose. And check with these two fingers, it should be movable easily. And now you will check the radial pulse, and after feeling the radial pulse you will inflate the cuff, and after inflating the cuff, when the pulse disappear, you will note that point and again deflate the cuff. And now with the help of the bell of the stethoscope, you will place the bell on the brachial artery, which is on the medial side, medial to the biceps tendon. And after waiting for the 15 to 30 seconds, you will again inflate the cuff to that reading which you have noted before, and you will add 30 more to that reading because you don't want to discomfort the patient with high pressure. And this also avoids the auscultatory gap, which is silent interval between systolic and diastolic pressure. So after inflating the cuff, you will deflate with the speed of 2 to 3 millimeter mercury per second, and when you hear the first sound, that would be your systolic pressure, and when the sound disappears, that would be diastolic pressure. And when the sound disappear, you will slowly deflate the cuff for the 10 millimeter mercury, and after that you will rapidly deflate the cuff. And remove the cuff from the patient's arm and make the patient comfortable.
Okay, Mr. Ram, thank you so much for your time. So this was my today's video, guys. I hope this was helpful for you. So please hit the like button and subscribe to my channel and share this video with your friends. Thank you so much. I'll see you in the next video.